Hello class, my name is Garba, the facilitator of Group B for GSPT 1201 for level 1 and 2201 for level 2. As we know, this course comprises of 7 modules, and today we are going to look at module 3. Module 3 has to do with reading comprehension and summary. As I said earlier, module 3 has to do with comprehension and summary. We are going to look at these items to see what they are all about. When we say reading comprehension and summary, what the two concepts mean. First of all, let's start with what is reading. Reading is one of the 4 language skills we have. As we know, we have 4 skills, language skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So reading is one of the skills we have, which is very important, or rather it plays a vital role in our daily activity, because as a student we must read in order to pass exams, in order to get information, and so on. Reading denotes the reader's capability to interpret a written document. That is a situation whereby a reader decode or get or interpret a written document. It's what is known as reading. While writing and speaking are expressive language skills, reading is one of the receptive in the sense that you are receiving information from the document presented before you. Then now we're going to see what comprehension means. Comprehension literally means understanding. When we say comprehension, simply we are referring to understanding. So for one to comprehend means that the reader has to understand what the passage is all about. That is what the written document is all about. When you interpret any reading document and you understand that particular document, then that is what is called comprehension. There are different types of reading. Here we are going to look at the 2 types of reading, that is intensive reading and then extensive reading. Intensive reading is a reading shorter text to extract specific information and other textual details. Extensive reading has to do with reading materials that we read in order to have specific information, such as reading for examination or reading in order to write your assignment. In that particular situation, you are reading purposely to get specific information. Extensive reading has to do with reading longer text to have the general understanding, and that may be done for pleasure. When we say extensive reading, is a kind of reading we do outside the classroom, like reading of short stories, novels, newspapers, and so on. We are doing such reading for pleasure, and we read longer text. For example, you may read 350 pages of a novel, or 1000 pages, and so on. So these are the types of reading we have. Intensive reading is reading for examination, for assignment, and so on, while extensive reading is reading for general information such as novels, newspapers, as I explained earlier. There are purposes of reading. And some of the purpose of reading comprehension are as follow. Number 1, to grasp the sense of the passage, that is, to get what the passage is talking about. Number 2 is to generalize from and apply simple logic to the passage, that is, we read a passage in order to apply our logic on it. We also read to get the meaning of the part and whole of the passage. That is, whenever we read with the intention of understanding or of getting the meaning of what the passage is talking about. We also read to understand the passage's essential features. That is, in any written document, there are certain features. So we read in order to get that or to understand those features. The next thing is we also read to identify the keywords and grammatical functions. If you can remember, in our first module, that is module 1, we talk about grammatical categories, that is the part of speech. So at times we read in order to get the grammatical functions of such categories. We also read to appreciate facts from opinions, and we also read to identify sentence types and figurative expressions. When we talk of the figurative expressions, they are the kind of expressions used most at times in literature texts, like metaphor, simile, irony, hyperbole, personification, and so on. There are steps of reading comprehension. To remember a reading, 3 essential steps are presented to you. That is, for one to read for comprehension, he has to follow these 3 steps. That is before, during, and after reading. Before you read, it is very important to identify the structure of the text. To fully understand the text, one must first look at how it is structured. That is, how the text, when we say text, that is the reading material before you, how it is structured. And we need to carefully observe the elements of the text in order to identify the structure. For one to understand the structure of that given text, there are certain elements such as titles, subtitles, illustrations, captions, and then so on. During reading, that is, one has to be active. As you read, you are expected to use your brain. You have to be active, not passive. Active in the sense that you use your brain, your eyes, in order to get the information from a reading text. That is, you have to define your reader's project, and you are starting to lose yourself in reading the text. That is, as you are reading a text, you are forgetting about yourself. At times, if you have a kind of anxiety, depression, or any problem, by the time you start reading, you will just get out of your problems. That is, in order to focus on the particular text before you. After reading, it is very important to rephrase. Rephrase is different from paraphrase. When you say that you are going to rephrase, that is, you are going to use your own words in order to explain to someone or to write down in your own words what you understand about that particular text. Summary. A summary is a brief statement or a statement in your own words. That is, when you are given a passage to summarize, you are expected to briefly state what is about that particular text by using your own words, but you have to itemize the main idea of the passage. That is, when you are summarizing a text, it is very important to identify or to bring out the main idea of the passage. When you write a summary, you condense the writer's idea into a few concise sentences. That is, you use the writer's ideas put in short sentences or few concise sentences. That is well explanatory sentences. A summary is always shorter than the larger text, because when you are summarizing, you are omitting examples and other rhetorical strategies in that particular passage or text. That is, whenever you are summarizing, you are not expected to use any examples and other information that are given emphasis on the text. All that you need to do is to write down the main ideas of the writer. In this slide, we are going to look at the procedures for writing summary. For one to write a summary, he has to follow these procedures because they are very important. Number one, understand the text. It is very important for the reader to read and understand the particular text before he started summarizing that particular text. Number two, create a plan. It is important for the person who is summarizing a text to write down the plan chosen by the author of the text without deviating from the original structure of the particular text. By this, it means that as you are summarizing, you should follow the structure, the plan, the outline of that particular text you are summarizing. That is, main idea one should be at the beginning, followed by 2, 3, that is, to arrange them in order the way the author planned them. Number 3, it is important to write down what you are summarizing. The length of a paragraph should not depend on the length of the ideas in the text, but on its importance. Let's say, for instance, you are summarizing a passage that comprises of 10 paragraphs. First, you have to read to understand the text. Secondly, to look at the plan chosen by the author of that particular text. And then thirdly, you should try to write down the most important points of that particular text. It doesn't mean that if you have 10 paragraphs, you are going to have 10 important points. You might have 4 or 5. Depends on how the author arranged them. The next thing, that is number 4, is proofread. It is very important to go over what you have written. As you summarize a passage or a text, you should go and read over and over in order to make sure that nothing is forgotten and nothing is added, and so on. So proofreading is very important immediately after writing your summary. The 5th one is that you have to make sure that the text you are summarizing gives a clear picture of the original text, and also it is well written with a good writing style, and understandable by a reader who has not read the original text. What this means is that when you summarize a text, the text or your summary should give a clear picture of the original text. That is, if let's say someone hasn't read the original text, by reading your summary, he can understand what the text is all about. You can also follow the following 6 steps in summarizing a text. Step number 1. List the main ideas for each paragraph in the text. As you are summarizing a text, you can list the main ideas of each paragraph. As I explained in the previous slide, you might come across 10 paragraphs. So it is important to itemize or to list the main ideas for each paragraph. Step 2. Underline the main idea statement that includes the most important ideas from the text. That is, as you are summarizing, you can underline the main idea statements that are very important from the text. You can find that some are very important, so try to underline those that are very important. Number 3, combine any idea that could go into one sentence. Let's say, for instance, in your summary, you have 6 paragraphs that you are summarizing, and then you list 10 ideas, main ideas, that is one idea from each paragraph. So you can also combine any ideas that could go into one sentence. Then at the end of the day, instead of having 10 main ideas or 10 sentences, you might have 6 or 7 or even 5 by merging or combining the ideas that could go into one sentence. Number 4, it is important to number the ideas in logical order. That is, as you are summarizing, it is important to number the ideas in logical order. The 5th one, that is the step 5, is write your summary in one paragraph. That is, after you list the main ideas, you underline, you combine some ideas into one sentence, then it is important to write them in one paragraph. And then lastly, to edit what you have summarized. After you write down your summary, it is very important to edit. You cannot edit without proofreading. As you are reading over what you have written, then you have a chance of editing that particular summary. Thanks for listening. This is the end of module 3.